Our next speaker is Andy. He's CEO at the UK Launch Services, and he will present his company and tell us more about spaceport development in Oman. So thank you so much, Andy, for coming today. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, great to be here, and thanks for having me. So I've just got a few slides. I will get those hopefully up and running while speaking. So yeah, I guess true to the form book, I'm going to speak a little bit about my company, where it comes from. Hopefully everyone can see that. So UKLSL, UK Launch Services Limited, was founded in 2017 by myself and another co-founder who still works with us. We're a really small company, and we formed the company off the back of some work we did really looking at the UK launch program. So a bit of background about me. I was a small sats guy, working in space for pretty much all my working life, which is now 30 years or so. And yeah, I worked an awful lot of that time at Surrey Satellite Technology in the UK, where I was responsible for some engineering functions and managing some big programs, and ended up being the CTO and engineering director there for 7 years. And whilst there, actually started mainly because of the way the ecosystem was going on launch and launch availability and launch opportunities for small satellites. Started some of that chat with a small group of people who were also in the community. Started that discussion again about UK launch and about why and how the UK could be a launching state. And we did some studies before I started the company, which looked at that, how it would do it, what the practical aspects were, what sort of vehicles could you fly, what sort of trajectories could you fly, and perhaps more importantly, identify the sort of state of play in the UK, as in how ready it was to do that. So obviously identified some pretty major gaps in the supply chain. So it's obvious when you think, well, what sort of stuff would a country have in place to do launch? Well, not much of it, because it isn't doing it. And we formed this company, UK Launch Services, off the back kind of some of those findings, because we saw some opportunities to help develop some of these capabilities and supply chain elements that were going to be needed to support launch. So we very quickly made a decision not to try and develop a new launch system, because there were people doing that. That wasn't our interest per se. And also, we're obviously not civil engineers, so we weren't going to build any spaceports. But we were all about, and we are still all about, everything that has to come together in between to make a launch service work. So that's our sort of strapline, which is delivering spaceflight services for the commercial space age. And what that means to us is we do a bit of everything. So I'll move to the next slide if I can. So this is straight off our website. If you look at our website, you will see this. This is what we do, and we very purposefully say we can operate across the whole ecosystem. So working pre-industry with companies and countries who might be looking at, I might want to get into the launch game. What is that all about? What are the economics, as in how much money do people make out of it? How much do you need to put in to get established? And what sort of things do you need to spend money on? Feasibility studies, supply chain development, regulatory is a big piece. We work a lot on the regulatory side. And so we write launch license applications for UK companies, both for spaceports, launch operators and satellites, because we're from the satellite world. But also we have done a lot of work on developing regulatory systems. So we did actually a lot of the studies called regulatory development studies, which helped some of the UK regulation and formed some of the basis of it in terms of the technical requirements and how launches actually fail and how you should regulate them and stuff. And then, so yeah, we also do design work. So again, we're very much system integrators. So we think about launch from the top, as in someone wants to actually make a business usually, or some kind of service, a launch service. And the nature of that service may be that they want to make a certain amount of money, they want to go to a certain amount of orbits, they want to serve military customers only, they only want to serve national interests, for instance. And from those very, very high level goals and objectives, you can flow down the sort of requirements and the shaping elements of pretty much every element of that service. And particularly how you're going to make it work and meet the sort of economics of it. So That's why we call ourselves system integrators, because we are integrating all of these pieces of the puzzle, some of which aren't technical, some of which are legal, regulatory, financial, making it all fit together so that the customer, the person who's trying to put the launch service together, can actually achieve their objectives and put something together which is valid, viable, and will work. So that involves all sorts of things. Risk and safety analysis. Obviously, there's a huge amount of safety work associated with launch. Launchers are bombs on the top of sticks. So you're bringing together very, very highly energetic propellants, obviously bringing them together, and you need to manage those potential consequences of things going wrong very carefully. So there's a lot around risk and safety analysis. And then we also can and have schemed out spaceports, and particularly from that sort of safety perspective and what drives spaceport design. A lot of it is safety related. So for the UK, before I started the company, I worked as a consultant, and I worked for Firefly Space Systems in the UK, in the US. We did a project with them, which was, just ask that question. Well, what if I wanted to launch rockets from the UK? How would that look? Where would I do it? And what would that need to look like? And that involved working with Highlands and Islands Enterprise, and looking at concepts for how we could do that. And just to be clear, that was before the UK launch program. So the UK launch program was formally launched in sort of 2016-ish. Tenders went out for the first projects in 2017, and it was actually formally kicked off, as in grants were awarded in summer of 2018. So we were looking at the UK as a launch site and potential launch sites before that program, and some of the work we did informed some of those sites and why they were chosen. So again, we work all the way across this spectrum, all the way from the pre-economics, the business case, all that kind of work, all the way through to validation, building, operational readiness, and all of it really. And just the last slide on the company capability, which is these are kind of projects we've done in the past: feasibility analysis, market analysis, revenue modeling, technical feasibility, and then again technical. We are technical people, we're engineers by trade, so we can do the analysis and the technical analysis and the technical work. And then these very, very high level definition kind of studies that we can do about launch requirements, safety and design, layout, and all those kind of things. And again, a lot of on regulation and really understanding how launch vehicles work, how they don't work, how they fail, and helping to build regulation sort of principles off the back of that. So how did we get to Oman? Just to answer that question. Actually, again, just picking up on what some of Dan said, very much based on contacts and friends, and we actually found the Oman opportunity through the DBT, and I'm sorry, I'm going to have to correct you, Dan. It's Conor McSharry, not Conor McGregor. I think Conor McGregor is an MMA star. Because you said, apologies for that, easy mistake to make. But Conor McSharry is a complete star in the DBT and the UK government, and he helped us connect with the Oman customer. So we do have we are working, as Alex said, with a company called NASCOM in Oman, a private company, who are going to build a spaceport in the south of the country near a place called Duqm. It's called Etlak, and you will find all sorts of details on that. And I could see that, I think Zainab, one of the people who work for NASCOM, is on the call. It's great to have Zainab here, so I'm sure she will be able to put some links into the chat or whatnot to point you towards the actual project. So we're working very closely with Oman. We're delighted to be doing that, and with NASCOM, to help them actually realise their ambition, really, on a number of levels. Put a program together which gets them a spaceport built, manage all the requirements, make sure it's fit for purpose, make sure it can serve the markets and the customers that it wants to, and attract that investment and also the operators. So we're working on multiple pieces there. We've done some of the initial layout design. We're looking at bits of the regulation as well, or other companies involved in that as well. And we're looking at really that whole end-to-end project lifecycle plan of where do you start from in a new country? What have you got? What do you need to work around? What are your advantages? What are the key attractions here? And how do you build a spaceport which will be, a regional hub and hopefully attract lots of customers and operate successfully? So yeah, we're doing a lot of what we did in the UK, which is starting not quite from a blank sheet, but looking at the ecosystem, the local advantages, the local economies, and characteristics of the country, and basically putting together a plan with NASCOM and helping them to realize that project. And there's some really interesting characteristics there which make it very attractive. It's a really, really good geographical location where it is. It has clear skies south, really, really good place. So I always look at it as a kind of cone that you would draw out of any location, sort of, and say, what's the size of that cone? Which trajectories could I launch down? And the fact it's on the coast and it is pointing, well, it has the orientation, the latitude and longitude that it has. It opens up a lot of potential commercial orbit opportunities, which is one of the main attractions of it. Also, great climate, some really, really good economic conditions, and this Duckham Freeport nearby, where they are really heavily developing a lot of industry and a lot of services and industrial elements there, which will really help the spaceport. And one of the pieces of work we're doing is looking really at the Duckham Freeport, that free zone, free trade area, and looking at exactly how we can lever that to make the spaceport as attractive as possible. So I think I've probably spoken for long enough. That always goes very quick. So that, in a nutshell, is what UKLSL is all about, and how we're working in Oman with NASCOM to help them to realize this fantastic ambition and a really fantastic project to have a spaceport in the region, maybe the first one.
Thank you so much, Andy. So yeah, NASCOM guys are watching us. I saw there in the chat. And there is one question. I know that you're leaving early a little bit, but so there is a question. What is the current status of the development of Oman spaceport? Some reports mention that launch can start as early as 2026, while the full development will be completed by 2030.
Sure.
If you're about to answer, please go.
Yeah, I mean, I will say what I could say. Of course, we are not the prime contractor. Our customer is best placed to answer that. I can say that the project is moving at some speed. Yes, it is possible in that region, and given all the conditions, to have something up and running and built within a couple of years. To be honest, it is the likely things that are going to stop that are those kind of things that are slightly out of your control, like probably legal aspects and some other things that we just necessarily don't know about yet. So, but I think it's the project has started very strongly. The customer knows, what it needs to do. It's very open-minded. It takes on board, lots of expertise from a number of companies, building a really good team. Of course, I would say that because we're in it. But yeah, it's moving at pace, and I think there's no reason why it can't get established and ready to launch things within a few years.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. Okay, I don't see any more questions. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for your time.